And greetings, fellow humans, and welcome to Collaborating for the Perfect Cover. First off, I am here a little early, a couple seconds early, to make sure that the microphone works. So can you guys tell me if this works? A couple seconds early to make sure that the microphone works. So can you guys tell me if this works? I think it sounds all right, but you tell me. Anyways, welcome here. This is the first chat in the AuthorTube Writing Conference for moi, although I've seen already a bunch. It's been very lovely to see various topics. There's a lot of notes and there's a lot of stuff that I have to rewatch. Ooh, it's got an echo. So since it's being echoey, let's play on the safe side. I promise that's the only techo snafu that I expect to have. And this should be much better. Anyways, I just didn't want to be dangling and wanted to be ambling more. So there's a lot that we're going to be covering. So take notes, ask questions, and that's what we're here for. And let's change up the view so that you can actually read what's on the screen. So collaborating for the perfect cover. We're going to be covering a bunch of stuff. I'm going to tell you who I am, where I come from, what's my background and my perspective, just to give you an idea of my mindset of when it comes to doing covers. It's debatable if my books are awesome or not. I think they are. What is not debatable is that the artists that I've been able to work with have absolutely nailed what I wanted. And this is to help you achieve the same. This is my perspective. This is my point of view. Take notes. What works for you, works for you. If it doesn't work for you, if it sounds wonky, if it sounds off, don't use it. It's completely fine. The main thing then that I want is for you to get something out of this. So that's up to you, actually. So the next slide, step one, finding potential artists. And actually, but before that, let's go back. Let's get large. So expectations. I'm going to give you my perspective. Second off, I want you to know that this is an open, kind forum. So the rules of play are simple. Keep it cute and sweet and wonderful in the chat. If you have questions, drop it. If you can put a Q before that, that's going to help me identify it, and it'll help my mods get the questions to me. And yeah, now let's get into it. Step one, finding potential artists. So you've got a book. You need a cover. What the hell are you going to do? Go to a bookstore, see covers that actually draw your attention, preferably in your genre. Get a couple. Don't get one. Get a couple. And then try to go to one of those book racks where they have a bunch of books thrown out and put them there and see if it stands out. I recommend that because too often I see people going with what works, what's being done in the genre, and it's not saying that that's incorrect. But for me, I am a hard ass and I'm super stubborn, and I want my book covers to first off capture the essence of the project. That's super important to me. Second off, I really need for it to cut through the clutter. That comes from my background in advertising. So go to a bookstore, look at that. Ask around. When I say ask around, ask in writer groups, ask to your author friends, ask to the void that is Twitter or Threads or Instagram, and see what comes through. Third off, I'm very fortunate that I work in advertising, so I've worked with a lot of artists, and we're going to get a little bit more into that later. Fourth, take notes, see websites, and after you see websites, we're going to go to the next step. How do you find the right artist in an ocean of artists? Figure out what you want. What do you want? Do you have to have a specific answer? Do you have to have a specific vision? Do you have to be completely ironed out? No, 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 and no. It's good. It's preferable, but it doesn't have to be that way. Research. Again, I mentioned going to a bookstore, but you can go to Goodreads, you can go to Amazon, and just scroll in the genre that you're writing and see what catches your attention and why. And when I say what catches your attention, design, title, font of the title, placement of the author, color palette, whether it's an image, it's a picture, it's drawn, it's line art. What do you see that piques your interest, and why? And try to figure out why it piques your interest. It's something that I do, and again, depending on the project, I know exactly what I want, or I have no clue. And again, we're going to get to that. I already mentioned ask around, ask around, ask around, ask around. The writing community. People say, "Oh, everyone in the writing community is super kind, etc." False. You will find your tribe, and you will find people that are kind. You'll find a lot of those, but not everyone's your friend. And I want to make that really clear. And I want to make that really clear because I participated in the AuthorTube Writing Conference, because the people that organize this and participate in this, at least a third of the panelists are people that I'm fond of, I care of, I respect on a professional writer and personal and human level. So ask those people, ask the people that have your best interest, and also see the enthusiasm with which people recommend someone, and we'll get to that later. Check for covers that feel right. Check out their portfolio. This is after you've gotten names. This is after you've gotten names. So you have a list of 4, 5, 10 potential artists. They should have a website. They should have a portfolio. They should have more than just one image. Go to their portfolio, and you can do this for a couple of reasons. First off, you're looking for their range. You're looking for their style. You're looking for topics that they're passionate about. Some artists like to specialize in a genre, and they're really good in middle grade, or really good in horror, or really good at something. And if you have a project in one of those genres, you're going to benefit from that passion that they bring to the table. Skills, lighting, illustration, line art. There's so many things. See what they do well, and again, just focus on what draws your attention, what you think is the cream of the crop, and just narrow it down. Don't eliminate everyone, but get your 3 favorites. After that, drafting a creative brief. This is before you engage and you contact the artist. And some people are going to go like, what the hell is a creative brief? I come from advertising. When you're going to work on a creative project and you have creative deliverables, this is a document to guide any creative individual that's going to be participating, to help them know what you want. So for a cover, different specs, and I'm going to give you concrete examples. I'm actually going to be sharing some of the creative briefs that I've drafted for people, so that you have a clearer idea of what it is. But point blank, creative brief, it's going to give you the information that you need. It's going to give the artist the information that they need to deliver what you want, as clear as possible, as detailed as possible. Does it have to be perfect? No. Does it have to be complete? No. We'll get more to that later. Why am I saying that often? For some projects, I knew clearly what I wanted. I had a vision, and I could see it. I could touch it. I could taste it. For others, I was absolutely lost in limbo. But creative brief, what does that include? Again, main purpose is it's a guide, it's a compass, it's a map. References, inspirations, do's and don'ts. Those are the 3 main things that I think you should focus on. You can include more. You shouldn't include less. This is one of the few times that I say these 3 things are what you need to get the job done, at the very least. As for creative brief, you want to keep it brief. You don't want to go super extensive. So references, different covers that you've seen, inspiration, movie covers or movies that you've seen, illustration that you've seen, even famous paintings that you've seen that just draw your attention. You go like, wow. Do's and don'ts. What do you want to see? What don't you want to see? For me, very particular in most of my projects, I don't want to see a close-up of the face of a character, just because I want the reader to fill that in, and that's a very me thing. Another don't do something generic. Don't do what everyone else is doing. For me, it's very important that they have that very top of mind. It's like, I want this to stand out. I want this to be special. I want people to look at the cover and go like, what the hell is that? I need that. That is something very important for me. Do's depends on the project. From something as specific as, I want this to look like it would be worthy of Studio Ghibli or Studio Ghibli, to something as generic or aspirational as, I want this cover to make people smile. Try to imagine that. If that's your go-to, that's what they're aiming for. So here are examples of creative briefs that I've actually prepared. This is for Penumbra. Penumbra is my collection of Spanish horror short stories that take place in Puerto Rico. Seriously, I needed it to have that flavor. I needed it. So I'm pretty clear. From the get-go in this creative brief, I have a PowerPoint that I sent to the artist. I'm already saying from the first slide, this is going to be horror, but it's going to be something different. It's not going to be gory. It's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be develop a cover and supporting materials for a Spanish short story collection. And here's my ideal cover. I specifically said it's dark but classy. Think Sandman series, H.P. Lovecraft, not gory, no blood, it's psychological horror. Yes, Silence of the Lambs, no Hostel, Saw, Texas, Chainsaw Massacre, etc. We get a bit of tea. By the way, this tea. I love my indies, and this is actually an indie tea blender, the Rooted Dandelion. This is a very lovely blend. It's chamomile, rose petal, elderflower, calendula, orange peel, lavender, and thyme. And it is very tasty and very, very, very relaxing. Okay, going back to this. I let you absorb a little bit of this information because it is a lot. Why is it a lot? Because I needed a lot, because I had a very clear vision of what I wanted. Elements I'm looking for. This is Spanglish because this is a Puerto Rican illustrator. Garita de noche que se vea la puerta. This, if you see a fort, a Spanish fort, they have these little turrets where they're lookouts. I wanted that because that's very iconic and very emblematic of Puerto Rico. Light can be shining through. Why did I mention this? Because I identified the strengths of this artist. Caralis Lunas, who's a brilliant artist in and of herself. I think something that she truly excels at is in lighting. The lighting in all of her artwork, it's just, I'm going to include the link to her portfolio later, but she's brilliant and she's great at that. I wanted there to be a full moon, and I wanted the full moon to have that feeling of a nautilus. Apart from this, I want the image to have textures. Think leaves, things, I don't know, maybe sand, maybe fabric, something, so it's not flat. I wanted it to have that dimension. I wanted it to have that those ethereal qualities, so that you can feel, you can taste, you can smell the image. Final notes. These are my covers, and this is what we're going for. By the way, this is just water. This is not Triforce tea. This is Triforce water. So check my other covers. This is the benchmark. Why do I mention this? Because I've had artists that send me something that felt completely off-brand. I have a variety of covers depending on the genre, depending on the project, etc. But each cover succeeds at what it's set out to. By the way, J.D. Estrada, no dots. The only exception for that is the human cycle, just because the other books already have the periods. But from here on out, I shall take off the periods. We can talk about that in another chat. So here, and when I said, if you have any question, ask away. I'd rather we discuss and you get as much info as possible before you start designing. This is going to go to the next step. This is still part of the creative brief. So we established a timeline. I asked to establish a timeline, inspiration board, colors, fonts, textures, visual references, color palette, anything. Some options of sketches to decide on design. I've worked with several artists where they can draft something very brief, something very quickly with pen and paper or pencil and paper, and that gives us direction. And that has led to some of the best results that I've had. Some options of sketches, and then I want to see a first draft. I don't want them to get too deep into it, just because I want to be mindful of time. I respect the artist's time. Time is money, and I don't want to waste their time or their money. Establish other meetings for any revisions or requests, and then establish a date for the second draft. These are all things that I shared with the artist in the creative brief. Okay, so that's for Penumbra. What about another project, one that I need more direction in, or need more assistance in? The Daydreams on the Sherbet Shore. It's an adventure how I got this cover, and we'll get into that. But something that invites you to pick up a cover ask, something that invites you to pick up the book, something that makes people smile, something that's eye-catching, something that's whimsical, fun, clearly for a younger audience. Possible ideas, and here I mentioned some ideas from scenes in the book. So did you spot the difference between those two projects? It's very simple. For one, for Penumbra, I had a very clear vision of what I wanted, what I needed, super clear. For the Daydreams, I was absolutely clueless. And I was absolutely clueless for several reasons. It's a project that I'm really, really fond of, and I have a lot of love for that project. For Penumbra, this is going to be my first Puerto Rican, first full Spanish prose collection. And I wanted to feel very Puerto Rican, and I was very clear, and I had a vision, and I knew what I wanted. For the Daydreams, it's a project that when it connects with people, it really connects. It's set in the world of Drame, and my intention with these short stories is to spend time with friends that live across the world, and it's the only way that we can hang out for now. But very clear on this side, what the hell am I going to do on this side? Step 3, meet up and see how you match up with the artist. This is key. This is essential. You still haven't agreed to anything yet. The artist has not agreed to anything yet. They want to. They want to work with you. So having that conversation is going to yield a lot of things. I've had situations where from that first conversation, I didn't feel a click, and I'm like, you know what, let's leave it at this. And I've had other situations where I had a wonderful click, and where people actually go beyond expectations. So you're looking for chemistry, you're looking for affinity, you're looking for rapport. This is my style. This is how I like to work. I like to have chemistry, affinity, and rapport with the artists that I work with, and all the artists that I've worked with to one degree or another. All of them are people that it's more than just a project. It's more than just a cover. It's something that becomes ours, and that's very important for me. So things to remember. It's okay if you don't connect. It's okay to say no. And it's always okay to be honest. You always have to be respectful, but you always have to be honest, because if you're not honest, you're not going to get what you want. And you're both going to be disappointed. And, someone's going to get a paycheck, and that's about it. So tips to get off on the right foot. Depending on what you need and when you need it for, try to establish a timetable. Be flexible, but be clear. I said I have a due date to publish this by this date. I need it to be published by this date. And with others, I'm more flexible. How flexible? I have a cover for a short story collection that I haven't finished, and it's been ready for a year and a half. And I haven't shared that cover because I'm only going to share it when I'm ready. And that cover actually was designed by a fellow booktuber who is from Italy. So again, research, ask around, find out. Second off, pay half up front. Whatever you agree to, and what you agree to, that's your business. I'm not going to talk about money. I'm not going to say exactly what one cover costs versus another, because what one artist charges, that is their business, and that is the business of you. And that is not something to be declared, because maybe they're in a situation where they have more demand, they become more popular, inflation, anything. And also, you have to respect an artist to charge what they think is right. I'm not saying that you should jump to anyone that wants to charge you $2,000 for a cover. If you have it in your budget, kudos. I do not. And I have to be mindful of that. And I also try to go to see in their portfolio and the services that they offer, if they offer pricing, to get an idea. The pricing can vary. And when I say that it can vary, it's not just going to vary from artist to artist. You can say clearly, this is my budget. And they say, well, I'd like to do this, but this would be more expensive. For that budget, I can do this and this and that. If it sounds right, go for it. I've done that and it worked absolutely well. And in other occasions, I was like, I'm not gonna strong arm you. I'm not gonna haggle you. You're out of my budget. I wish you all the best, and you leave it at that. Again, because someone is out of my budget doesn't mean that I'm just gonna strong arm them to give me a cheaper price or use friends or something else as leverage. No, this is Twin Peaks tea. So, tips to get off on the right foot: establish timetable, pay half up front, schedule check-ins. Check-ins are essential. Be flexible with them because life happens. Why do I say this? Because I've had occasions where an artist, their computer crapped out or life was life. And you have to have a degree of flexibility. You can get stressed out because I have, but schedule a check-in. If you're going to miss a check-in, try to establish the next one and try to, if you see that someone flakes out and that brings you undue stress, then you can say, okay, up to here. If they want to refund the first half of your payment, that's debatable. That can be a conversation. That's overthinking. And again, mutual accountability. What do I mean by mutual accountability? And I see several questions here. I will get to them and I will scroll, but there's a lot of information, so I'm going to get to that. So at least in other people who have asked, I will get to. Anyways, mutual accountability. If you say that you're going to offer feedback by one date, do it and stick to that date. If you say that you're going to offer them X or Y thing, do it. If you say, again, anything that you agree, stick to it. The more you can, the better. I try to be as accommodating and as flexible as possible, but I want to be fair. I never pay full price up front though, because working in advertising, you see a lot of shady things. And I've had situations where people eventually don't want to pay me and I have to become a loan shark. And it's like, dude, the same thing happens with artists. Sometimes if you give them all the money, they just disappear. And that's the last thing that you want. So open communication is key. Honestly, be precise with feedback. It doesn't mean that you have to be absolutely 100% precise, but if you can be precise, better. I'm coming from this from a perspective of advertising. In advertising, I've had feedback where someone said, it needs more gravy. And I'm like, you can go to the supermarket and buy Swanson. I recommend that brand, or you can make your own. Don't say stuff like that. Be precise. We'll talk about the different covers because I have specific examples of specific feedback that I gave. And by being as precise as possible and being respectful, saying, I've never said this is a piece of crap or anything. I've said that this feels off or this feels off brand, or I think we should look for something else. And also credit where credit is due. A lot of people get the cover and then they don't give credit. To give you an example, for every book that I have an artist, and I double check to make sure that I wasn't misrepresenting myself. First off, in the interior, I say who the artist was, and I give their contact, and also in the acknowledgement section, I include a mention of them because a cover can sell a book, and I've seen that time and time again. And actually, Esther, I'm only going to answer this one first. I'm a copywriter, and I was told to give more gravy to a headline. Whatever. Anyway, credit where credit is due. And now we're going to have specific examples. Rafael Tango. He's a very talented, very kind, very low-key artist. He is based in New York, I think in Brooklyn or Queens. I'm not sure where they live now. I had this project, and this project, so that you can see the cover. Given to Fly is very special for me because I went to see the movie. And to give you a little background of how we got to the cover, I went to the movies to see Ponyo. Ponyo is a Studio Ghibli film. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Why was it important to me? First off, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was super charming, super cute, super sweet. Second off, blessed be all the children that were in that movie. It wasn't a packed house, but it was at least half to three-fourths full, and most of it were kids. Every one of those kids were super 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 educated, and enjoyed the movie, and it was just super sweet, and I loved it. When I got out of that film, I knew that I wanted this book to have a little bit of the DNA in that movie, specifically in an adventure that doesn't have violence. I was amazed that Ponyo did not have violence, and I'm like, I need to write a book that doesn't have violence. Um, in the prologue of this book, it is actually kind of dedicated to a friend of mine. They lost their newborn son very early on. Adrian was 2 months when he passed away, and that kind of hit me. And I wanted to do like a tribute to that. And without knowing it, his father's sister, Adrian's father is Angel. His sister Maria. These are friends. We've been friends for like 30 years, over 30 years. She was like, I really think that Raf should do the cover for this book. She didn't know that I wrote that. So I sent the artist the manuscript. He actually read the whole thing. And if you can have an artist do that, you're going to get special results. So this, this is my artistic representation of Odd Manor, Malcolm Hill, the house, and the setup of where the story starts. As you can see, as an artist, I'm a great writer. But I want you to focus on the tree. I want you to focus below. If you see on the bottom left, you see a house that is on its side, on a tree, over a lagoon. You see that, right? And you see that this is absolute crap. From this, we got to this. We had one conversation, and people say, "Oh, so how was the first draft?" The only revisions that I asked Raf for this artwork was the color of the house was too close to the sky, so I asked him to have a little bit more contrast there. And I asked him to add a door. And he's like, "Awesome. Anything else?" And I'm like, "No, dude, you nailed it." We had a conversation. We dialed in. He read it. He knew the DNA of the project. He could feel it, and he really resonated with that. And if you can achieve that with an artist, I'm not saying it's going to happen every time. I'm saying that it happened with this project. You can get some really special results. I think this is the only book that I have that I've actually sold copies of the book thanks to the back cover. And to me, that's just fascinating. That the back cover, they're like, "Wow, this is super cute." And then when they see the kid, they go like, "I need to read this." And I've been very fortunate of the positive feedback that this has gotten. I even have prints of the cover in case people were interested, and I was able to sell like one or two. It's not their jam. People like me for my writing. Second artist spotlight, Jose Tony Arocho. How do I know Tony? The best creative team that I've ever worked in terms of having art backs. Tony is a special dude. He's a special talent. He's a really good friend. He's someone that I'm also very fond of on a personal level. He's a dude. He's like, "Man, I have an idea," and then he goes on tangents. With him, I've worked on several things, but specifically, I wanted to highlight his work on the human cycle. So here's the first draft of Beyond Human, which is the last book in the human cycle. It's not that it's bad. It's not that it's awesome. It's that there is an issue. That's the cover of the first book and the second book. So that doesn't feel like the cover of the third book. That feels like another series. That feels like another project. That feels like There's something off from there. And he followed all the directions that I gave him. This is a very challenging series to design for because it's urban fantasy and I wanted something that was abstract, but by seeing the cover, you knew kind of what you were in for. This is existential, this is philosophical, this is dense. And again, course correction. So I saw this and I was like, man, I'm not feeling it. And then I slept on it and I said, give me one more day. And then I dialed in on the issues that I was having. First off, this looks like very much too much photography. This is design. This looks like a poster. This looks like a photo montage. This looks again, design and photographic elements. You see those differences, and I was really struggling with that. And by the way, the first cover, he actually he designed like 4 little designs and post-it notes, and then we had lunch. I treated him to lunch, and then he showed me the post-it notes, and I was like, let's go with this one. And again, this is physical. So course correction. And I'm like, no. And then I got an idea for something in the book. And actually from that conversation, I doubled down on some of the concepts, some of the visuals, some of the imagery later in the book. And that's where we got to. This is the first draft of the revision. So one conversation, one honest, open conversation. We went from this, which isn't bad, but it's not this. And we got to this. When I saw this as the first draft of the edited, I was like, dude, you almost nailed it. We just need some small tweaks. And that's the final cover. As you can see, we edited the font, we added some lighting here, we added some other hidden elements. If you see here, it's kind of flat. If you see here, you see there's a boat. You see there's some angels. You see some other details where he was like, give me one more day so I can do some tweaks. And I was like, go for it. Also, if an artist says, give me a little bit more time so I can do something better, give them the day. Give them the day, the days, the weeks, whatever. Because to have someone in love with what they're designing, that's going to give you some wonderful results. Here are other covers that Tony has done for me. Why do I want to share these? First off, to show his range. And second off, because we already talked that this was course correction. We had to have conversations to get to the end product, right? These are all first drafts. Roulette of Rhymes, and these are all poetry. Roulette of Rhymes had one revision. I asked him to put my author name in one of the blank spaces, and that's it. These are all his first drafts for this. Again, we had an honest conversation. I told him tone. I told him what I was looking for. And he's like, I think I got it. Let me take a stab at it. And as soon as he sent the draft, I was like, dude, no revisions. And you see, when I have to give revisions, I did give revisions, and I was honest and I was open. And when I don't have to give revisions, I don't nitpick at things that work and that are exactly what you want. And when you know what you want, that's just going to help you arrive to that even better. Artist Spotlight, Carelis Luna. You saw what I showed you about the creative brief. I was very specific, and I told you what her skills were, the ones that I really focused on, and what I needed this cover to be. And that's what we got. You got the garita, the lookout. You have the moon. You have this bench. If you walk in, there's a walkway. There's a pathway called Paseo de la Princesa in Old San Juan. That bench looks like it came from there. If you see the lanterns, it just nails it. It absolutely. I wanted it balanced. I wanted it centralized, but I wanted it to be alive, and I wanted it to be evocative and ethereal. And she absolutely nailed it. Why didn't I show you the first draft? Because the difference from the first draft to this is so minor that you're not going to notice unless you zoom in. Again, good conversation. I was clear of what I wanted. She absolutely nailed it. Fourth off, Melissa Lettuce. If you see the books that she's holding, mine is there. Melissa, she really helped me out when I was struggling. Why was I struggling? First off, I didn't know what I wanted for the cover of the second installment of the Daydreams on the Sherbet Shore. I'm like, I don't know, and I need help. How did I arrive to Melissa? So Donnie I worked with, Raf was recommended by Maria. Carelis was actually a neighbor at the Puerto Rico Comic Con, so I was able to not only see her work, we talked for 3 days, and from like, oh no, who's this person, to wow, she's a really good friend, to eventually I'm like, when I find the right project, we're gonna work together, and we did. Melissa is a case of a recommendation from a writing group. So the writing troupe on Facebook has a bunch of authors that I know that are very cool, and I've done writing sprints with them. And one day, in a woe is me moment, I opened up to the group and I said, guys, I need to get this off my chest. I need help. I don't have an artist for this cover, and I need help. I had one, and she wasn't able to do the project. She would have been a great fit, but it wasn't to be. I had another artist, would have been awesome, but again, conflicts and life being life, and it wasn't to be either. I need help. Do you guys know of anyone? Mike Jack Stonebos, who's an author, I think he's also based in Atlanta. He participates in the writing troupe. Mike took it as his own personal little crusade to say, I'm going to find you an artist. Mike's a good guy. And I already knew this because I had met him in person, but in the couple of chats that I've been able to participate that he's in, he's shown he's a really, really cool guy. Mike found me like 3 or 4 artists. And then he was like, and I saw a couple, and I was like, man, I'm not sure because I need this. And he's like, give me 1 second. And then he found Melissa's website and he sent it over. He was like, give this person a look. And I'm like, I'm dejected. I'm bummed out, but I appreciate, because he was really going hard at trying to get me help. I don't owe him anything. He doesn't owe me anything. He saw a fellow indie that needed help, and he was like, I'm going to help you. And he found me Melissa's contact. We had honest conversations. I said that I was absolutely lost and I needed direction. Melissa, she read the entire book, and she's like, I think we can do either this or this or that. And I'm like, I like this idea. And she's like, okay, give me 1 second. And then she sent me a first draft. And I'm like, how about if we tweak this and this and that? And it was very collaborative. It was very much give and take and adjust. And can we please do this? And can we please try that? She was super accommodating, super, super kind, super attention oriented, on the dot. And, every deadline, she was like on the dot. And we were able to achieve this cover. This cover is beautiful. And this is the kindest book that I've probably written. And from the color palette, you can get that. And she took this color palette she looked at the first volume of the Daydreams of the Sherbet Shore, and she explored different color palettes. And she's like, but I think this one feels right. This one, I see these 2 covers and I see these work right. As you can see, there's someone riding the Falcori. The Falcori is a magical dragon that transforms into the vehicle that it has to be for the adventure that you have to go on. From a snowcat to a locomotive to an airship, the Falcori can do no wrong, and he will always provide a teapot steam locomotive. And she absolutely captured the essence of this. If you take a closer look, the door has an inscription. If you see the brickwork, it is very detailed. It is very nice, and you can see how that contrasts with the grass and how it's almost feathered. It's almost soft. In the background, you can see the Satsuma Museum, which is a big orange. If you don't know what Satsuma is, look it up. All of these details came about from conversations. If you see the floating light bulbs, she's like, I saw this and I really want to include this somewhere. And I'm like, go for it. And if it feels off, I'll tell you. And if it feels right, we'll go with it. And we were able to land on this cover. It was super collaborative. She was super patient. She was super kind. And I can't recommend all of these artists enough, because thanks to them is that, we got it done. And when I say we, I truly, deeply, genuinely mean we. So I talked about these 4 artists, and I'm going to do something. Here are the contacts for those artists, and I'm going to get off screen in case you want to do a screenshot. These are their portfolios. You can probably find them on Instagram or other places, possibly LinkedIn. By all means, I recommend all these artists, and they are great people. They're good people, and I'm in love with what they were able to achieve, and I'm very thankful also. Because without them, I wouldn't have had a cover. And some of these books, they just sell on their own. So 40 minutes in, I think I timed this perfectly. This is a Q&A. But before that, I already spoke about 4 artists. There are still some artists that I haven't spoken about. And I want to show you. I actually have another book with this artist, but let me get full screen, or at least bigger. This cover was made by the captain, my wife. We had a conversation. I told her what I needed, what I wanted. Again, we spoke honestly, and she nailed it from the get-go. You see the font, how everything is organized, etc. Everything was a conversation. Everything was a topic. And also, sometimes you got to take matters into your own hands. And I've been able to do a couple of covers. This is a poetry. I took 5 of my poetry collections and random poetry from other places, and I did a recollection so that people can have a handy volume with all the poetry. I wanted it to look classy and, and just feel good. So I didn't go overboard, and I didn't make a 400-page tome. Then, no, this one. This is my collection of positive poetry. Why am I happy with this? Because I wanted this to look like a Mother's Day gift. And every time I see it, it has that feel that it's a Mother's Day gift. And finally, this is typographical. And this is me. If you've ever seen my videos, if you've ever seen my blogs, this guide to creative kindness has the closing that I do for blog posts, for letters, or for messages to people. And I wanted it to be that simple. All of those covers I did on Canva, and I paid for the images, but I designed over them. I do not use AI generated covers. That's not my thing. If it's your thing, cool. But anyways, let's go back. And I actually can't. I'm gonna see what questions you have, and I'm gonna try to go in the order. If you have any other questions, now's the time. We have about 17 minutes to go. And again, thank you, Esther, for moderating this. Also, make sure to fill out the feedback form in case you like this, or in case you want to participate in a giveaway. For the giveaway, I'm actually participating, offering 5 free ebook copies on Kindle of any of the 20 books that are available digitally. And anywhere in the world, I will send a set of the entire Human Cycle series. So that's 3 paperbacks. The cost of them is $60, and the shipping is gonna cost me an arm and a leg. But I wanted to offer something worldwide, just because the AuthorTube Writing Conference deserves to be enjoyed worldwide. Let me see. So, question. I am searching, so please be patient with me. So, question from Eloise Barr: what are your thoughts for cover design on a book that crosses genres that have distinctly different typical covers. I'm actually going to copy this so that I can paste it. Nah, I can't do it. Again, what are your thoughts for cover design on a book that crosses genres that have distinctly different typical covers? The human cycle crosses genres. It is urban fantasy, but there are whimsical moments and there are horror moments, and there's a lot in between. That's why I wanted for it to be more ethereal, not specific. But if there's a book that has that feel, go for it. If you want it to be a transition cover, that it starts on the left in a style and then it degrades to another style. If you want to do it in 4 quadrants, there's different creative ways that you can represent that genre mashing. If you've seen or read a book or seen a movie that has that feel to it, check out their poster and see what they did with the visuals, see what they did with the title, and even fonts. Sometimes what's going to give you what you need is the font that you use for your title. Also, make sure to click like and subscribe. The is me searching for the questions. Okay, what's your recommended format for a creative brief? Word doc, PowerPoint, PDF. I develop most of my briefs in. I've started doing them in PowerPoint just because I can give more reference, I can give more information, and and I can pair it with visuals easier than Microsoft Word. If you want to do a PDF version of a PowerPoint, that's also valid because you don't want people copying and pasting the information that you give. That's an option, and those are considerations that some people have. But in terms of format, PowerPoint or any deck, you can do a PowerPoint on Canva. You can use what's the one for Apple? Keynote. You can use Keynote. You can use PowerPoint. You can use any presentation. Again, don't overcomplicate things. Use it to your advantage to make things as clear as possible. Whatever helps you make your request as clear as possible, that's what you have to use. Can you talk about the commercial license with covers? So I work with artists that do not use generative AI, and that's been a request, and that's something that I focus on. What does that mean? That means that the images that they produce, I agree that they can put them on their portfolio if they want to sell prints of them. That's something that they can do. If they want to do merch of that, that's something that I've actually been asked if they could do, and I agree to it. Everything's negotiable as long as you make it clear and you establish it in writing somewhere. All of these images, they might use. I could break down and show you the elements that people have used, from vector images to stock elements also, and as transparent as it can be. I prefer that so that at the end it's a product that is mine and ours, and it's not something that is derivative. You can pay less for people who have pre-made covers, and there are different ways that people work with pre-made covers. I'm not bashing or dissing them. I'm saying it's not my cup of tea. But from taking an image and flipping it to changing the color palette, to changing the focus. So maybe you're focusing on the face here maybe you slide it down and you focus more on the hand, and there's different ways that you can approach that. I want by the end to have something that is absolutely mine. Thoughts on using AI to generate reference images to provide the artist? Using generative AI for that is valid. You can also just go on Pinterest, go hog wild and do a pin board for that. You can take pictures. I've taken pictures of covers in bookstores. I've taken pictures of monuments. I've taken pictures of classical paintings that had something that drew my attention to it, either for reference for a story or maybe a cover. But using generative AI for inspiration, I work in advertising. That's something that we do a lot. And if it helps the process, for me, it's valid as long as it's not something that you use in the end line. Again, that's me. There are people that are super comfortable using generative AI design covers. I'm not, for several reasons. And I'm not going to say that I'm right or wrong. I'm going to say that's my opinion and I'm sticking to it. What's gravy in a design and what's gravy in copy, I have no idea. But that was a case of a client that, if you're just hopping onto this, that's something that I was told once by a client in a presentation. They said that the copy needed more gravy, and that's just their way of saying they don't like it and they want something different. But it's not specific, and giving feedback like that won't help anyone. It'll just create friction. So avoid stupid things like that. How long did it take to go back and fill all these in-process cover graphics? That's from Margaret. I'm not sure what you mean by that. In terms of the information and the back cover copy and the spine, if it's that, once you nail down, if it's something else, please ask a follow-up question. But if it's that, that's normally it's quicker than getting the visual. Getting the visual is going to be the trickiest part, but getting that back content and making sure that you leave a space for your barcode. Always remember that, because no company cares anything about your design. So it's probably going to be on the bottom right. Leave a space there that doesn't have anything special and that you're particularly fond of, so that they can plaster the barcode there. For each of these, I generated I wrote the back copy while they were designing, so that I had that ready to go as soon as they had the design, and I would send them to them so that they could lay it out. But normally that's guesstimating 2 to 4 days so that they can get it right, plus revisions, so an extra day. So let's say total, worst case scenario, 5 days to get the spine, the back cover copy. If you have an idea for the font that you want to use, that's always going to help. Ways that you can explore what font you want. You can go to Canva and put your same copy, copy paste your text several times, try different fonts and see what feels right. If you want to be consistent with the font that you use, that's always going to help you. It's not a must. It's not something that I always do, but it's something that I should do more often. But at least I do it for all the series that I have, meaning that book 1, book 2, and book 3 use the same font. Varying that will bring you challenges that you don't need. I am checking. Oh, wait. This jumped. Okay, what's great? Follow up. Depending on how organized you keep these images, do you use them for promo and other stuff? Depending on the artist, sometimes they give you materials, supporting materials. I had some that were cover photos, and sometimes those first drafts I use them. Again, you have to make every penny count. And sometimes you can negotiate to get those materials developed by the artist. Sometimes you do it yourself, and you can agree to get the raw elements or the cover without the background or any information or any text, and just roll with it. If you see the work that I've done for Penumbra, I had those elements and I've been able to do various things, including and I have that for most of my recent covers. It's just something that, hey, I love my covers and I love the artist. I'm seeing if there's any question that I'm missing. And yes, please subscribe. And if you like this and you think someone would benefit, by all means, ask away. I'm seeing, I think that's it for questions. And I'm caught up with the chat. By the way, thank you everyone for the lively chat. For some reason on StreamYard, I wasn't seeing all the comments, because that is what it is. We have 5 more minutes. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. and I was pretty thorough. But if there's any other question, any other comment, DL, which cup do you want? Do you want this one or do you want this one? This was from Site 6. This one I bought at Box Lunch. If the cover spine is you always, something that I didn't include, you always have to, or you should always order a proof copy to see how it's printing, because sometimes from what you see online to what you see in real life, there can be some variation. And when I say variation, it can be many things. Sometimes it shifts position, and something that's very particular, depending on who's printing the book, the colors, they come out either more muted or darker or more watered down. So it's something that you have to be mindful of. Some of the covers that I have are matte, and that works for this, because glossy this, it felt off. And sometimes I go glossy. For the human cycle, I went glossy. And it's just knowing what I want for each project. I don't know if there's anything else. Oh yes, the type of file that you use will impact, and where you print will impact what you get from Lulu, what you get from KDP, what you get from Ingram. There can be variations on that. Giving yourself enough time to make sure that the end product is what you want, it's always going to help you. Yes, Dale and several people. I've seen people. Shannon also has videos showing print quality, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know anyone that goes as in depth in terms of research and being transparent as Shannon. So by all means, SD Huston, it's Houston, but still Huston. She's really good and really thorough in breaking it down. And yeah, that's about it. Any other random questions? By the way, yes, I am from Puerto Rico. Yes, I am the 00 banana secret agent. I am your friendly neighborhood JD Estrada. You can find me at JD Estrada. Right, if I'm on a social media platform, you're gonna find me there. My books are on Amazon, but if you want the physical versions, I encourage you to please try to buy them from local bookstores in Puerto Rico, like Tazas y Portadas. Tazas y Portadas is the reason I have my books back in Puerto Rico. Lovely people that I'm really fond of. And if you can support local and buy small, I'm always going to recommend that. And for my books, why did I want to do this presentation? I showed you nonfiction covers. I showed you urban fantasy. I showed you middle grade. I showed you horror. I showed you all of these. No matter the genre, no matter the length of a book, no matter your budget, your book deserves the best cover possible. And you should look at your cover like I look at my covers. I look at my covers and I smile and I go like, I love that cover. And people say, which one's your favorite cover? I'm like, I can't tell you that. If I had kids, which is my favorite kid? I'm not going to say that. I'm fond of all my projects for different reasons. What I can say is that the covers got to be what they were thanks to honesty, communication, kindness, respect, and passion. All of these artists, they don't use generative AI. They gave me something that is unique and beautiful and special. I want that for you. You don't have to get it that way, but I want that for you because I want your book to cut through the clutter. And in an ocean of 200 books, I want people to go like, hey, that looks like a cover from this person, or at the very least, wow, that looks like an interesting cover. This is just part of your legacy and your body of work. Treat it with the same love that you would treat a sentence or a paragraph or a topic or a chapter, because why not? Anyways, things are running down. Please remember to fill out the form, the review form, and please omit this last blunder. Check out the AWC playlist. There's more to come, and I'm actually going to be live in about 40 minutes with Joe Compton and Heidi Angel for healthy writing tips. So until then, toodaloo. Thank you very much. And always, peace, love, and Maki rules. Ciao, ciao.